The tail of the body.
How many people does it take to change a light bulb at this nuclear plant? This is the work package spelling out the rules for that job, changing a light bulb in a radiation area at the plant. It's 317 pages long. Now, you're going to think we're putting you on, but it took 43 people to change one light bulb. It actually took only 2 electricians less than an hour to do the work, but it took 41 people more than 1,000 hours to put this little plan together.
Does this man belong on death row? The man who prosecuted him says he does. A former commander in the Illinois State Police says he doesn't. Who's right? The only answer that counts will come from the Illinois Supreme Court.
I'm Mike Wallace.
I'm Morley Safer.
I'm Ed Bradley.
I'm Steve Croft.
I'm Leslie Stahl. Those stories and Andy Rooney tonight on 60 Minutes.
Charlie, back already.
Down, too mean. Keep down.
All right.
For the past few weeks, even cynical, hardened New Yorkers have been caught short by revelations of police corruption here. The poster boy for the new scandals is Officer Michael Dowd. He worked in the Black Ghetto, a big drug area, and he'd seemed a typical cop, 10-year veteran, 2 brothers in the force, son of a retired city firefighter. But since May of last year, he's been in jail because Officer Michael Dowd was a drug stealer and a drug dealer. Well, now, for the first time since he was caught, Dowd has unburdened himself to a reporter. With his lawyer, Marvin Hirsch, at his side, I spoke with Dowd in the Manhattan jail where he awaits sentencing. He says his troubles began soon after he joined the force 10 years ago, when he says he realized his bosses did not want him to arrest drug dealers.
If you make an arrest when you take a couple crack vials off the street, your sergeant gets upset with you because you've taken yourself and maybe your partner off patrol. And he's got to do paperwork as well as you do for the next 3, 4, 5 hours, whatever it takes.
What are cops there for? What you're telling me is your superior officers didn't want you to make drug arrests?
That's a fact.
How many cracks you need, man?
Frustrated because he couldn't arrest the dealers, Dowd says that he and 15 to 20 other cops, his crew, started shaking down drug dealers.
It wasn't just my crew. It was every tour had a crew doing it.
And you would walk in on a drug dealer and...
Take whatever we wanted.
Take drugs, take cash, take whatever.
Whatever was there to be taken.
Actually, Dowd says he'd leave some of the drugs so the dealers wouldn't get too mad. He'd shake down about 5 dealers a day, keep the cash, sell the drugs, and make an extra $1,000 a week. And then he discovered he could hit the jackpot by stealing at crime scenes.
There was a guy laying on the floor dead. People in the city die for drugs and money.
So you figured you might make a score?
I figured that maybe there would be extra money or drugs laying around.
Were there?
Yes.
You scooped up the drugs?
Yes.
Now, what do you do with the drugs?
Well, I had to walk past 15 cops to get it outside into the police car.
How'd you do it?
I just put the bag over my shoulder and I walked out the door with it.
A bag of cocaine?
Well, it didn't say cocaine on the bag.
And you walked past a line of cops, past the sergeant.
Well, they knew what I was doing. I know they knew, because they were smiling. Oh, here goes Mike.
And Mike was smiling when he struck it rich after a robbery.
In the basement, my partner and myself, and we found a couple of briefcases, and we had thought maybe it was cash in there, and we intended to take it. And when we realized we couldn't work out with the briefcase, so my partner went and got a hacksaw and handed it to me, and I hacksawed the briefcase open.
And found what inside?
Half a kilo of cocaine.
And sold it for how much?
$14,000.
Dowd even arranged his own drug deals. This undercover police footage shows him giving a drug dealer a ride. During the ride, Dowd says, he bought some cocaine that he later resold. After a few years, Dowd finally hit the big time, making $4,000 a week, he says, selling his drugs back onto the street through a major drug dealer and warning that dealer about possible police raids.
We were making $4,000 a week to deal drugs and $400 a week to be a cop.
Yes.
So how important was your police paycheck?
It really wasn't very important, truthfully.
You cashed it.
Deposited it. When I remembered to pick it up.
But Dowd's memory wasn't very good because he'd become an alcoholic and a coke addict.
You actually snorted cocaine off the dashboard of your squad?
Yes. Yeah.
You're out on patrol,
Right.
and you're getting high.
Well, I was probably hungover, so I wanted to give myself a lift up.
And your partner's sitting beside you.
Yeah.
And isn't he saying, hey, Mike?
No, he was just watching out for me, making sure no one was looking.
Doing the same thing?
No, he wouldn't do cocaine.
How come?
He wasn't a drug addict. He was an alcoholic. He wasn't a drug addict.
Dowd claims the life he led was driving him crazy.
I was living two lives. I was a cop dealing drugs. Every day was a battle. Personally,
Trouble talking to your wife? Trouble talking to your kids?
couldn't do it. I was best off just coming home drunk so I go to sleep, and then if I was high, I'd stay up till 7 o'clock in the morning. My kid would go off to school, and then I'd fall asleep for about 3 hours and pass out and go to work.
Did your wife know what you were doing?
Well, she knows that I'm doing things wrong, but I don't tell her my business. And she's constantly telling me, whatever you're doing, stop. One night she put a gun to my head and told me, if you don't stop, I'm gonna kill you. When's this gonna stop? She put a 9mm to my head, my temple. I thought she was gonna kill me.
And you said to her?
I don't remember, Mike. I just rolled over and went back to sleep. I was drunk and high.
And Dowd says that most of the cops in his precinct knew that he was a drug user and a drug dealer. He didn't hide it. He bought 4 houses, wore expensive clothes, and drove to work in a $35,000 red Corvette. His fellow officers, he says, just looked the other way.
Every cop knew what I was doing and what the whole crew of cops were doing in my precinct and in every precinct in Brooklyn.
Dowd says many officers were dirty, but even the clean cops wouldn't rat on a fellow cop. That's the notorious blue wall of silence. But even worse, Dowd says, his supervisors didn't stop him because they didn't want a scandal.
This is the evaluation that...
A city commission investigating police corruption recently discovered one supervisor's glowing evaluation of Michael Dowd. At the height of Dowd's drug dealing in 1987, that supervisor wrote,
This officer could excel within the New York City Police Department and easily become a role model for others to emulate. Then in all caps ended it by saying, good career potential.
And Dowd claims the younger cops really did look up to him, but as a different kind of role model.
There's 15 or 20 of them hanging out with me in a bar after work. All rookies.
They knew that you had money to spend.
That's why they were there. They wanted to learn.
What did your father say to all this?
Father's devastated. He's devastated.
Absolutely devastated. It's like a death in the family. That's how tragic it was.
Jack Dowd says son Michael was his pride and joy, the family's star.
Honest, never a day of trouble. Never gave us a reason to worry. And anybody who knew him would say, I could model my family after Mike. He was so good.
What happened?
He went in the police department.
Yeah.
His attitude changed, but never gave us a clue.
You have 2 other sons who are cops, New York City cops, right?
That's right.
They didn't get corrupted. Explain it.
I wish I could explain it.
The retired firefighter blames drugs and his son's supervisors, who, he says, knew Mike had a drug problem, but didn't get him help.
3 times he went to the police department. He asked for help. 3 times they told him, don't use the word drugs. Your job is finished. You say alcohol, you go away for 30 days, you come back.
The department shouldn't have sent him back out on patrol with a badge and a gun. And a coke habit.
That's right. That was a travesty to the city of New York.
My mom is shot. You know, I got people calling me a bum and a lowlife, you know, and...
He's ashamed of what he's done. He's ashamed of the problems he's caused for his family, the embarrassment for his family.
They raised 7 kids, Mike.
Are you the only bad one?
I don't know what bad is anymore, Mike.
sure the reason you're talking to me is because you'd like to get some of this out in front of the public and perhaps change the perception in the public that you are really, forgive me, a scumbag.
Well, Mike, I did some scummy things. I was confused. I was crazy. I was sick.
I've seldom read reports as bad as what were written about you.
I know.
And I don't think these tears are phony either. Your son is 7?
Yeah.
Would you want your son to grow up to be a cop?
No.
Because?
It's a thankless job.
As far as I'm concerned, all of them are on the take.
One self-appointed community leader, Sonny Carson, insisted that we interview him right in front of Dowd's old precinct house, the 75th.
Because the 75th is a crack house.
This precinct house is a crack
It's the
house?
biggest crack house in this area.
You don't know.
They're all in.
You don't know this?
Well, I don't know that they aren't either. I don't know that they aren't either. All I do know is that crack houses are open all around this area. Why are they open?
This guy. You know this guy?
I don't know any of them. They all look alike.
Huh? You want to talk to us a second?
Are you kidding? He's not going to talk to you.
Give me a minute. Come on over here a second.
Wow.
Here's a guy with a lot of decorations. Berkowitz has had a lot of time. How much time you had in the force?
24 years.
There are crack houses in this neighborhood?
Right around the corner. They know it.
Absolutely. There are.
Yeah, why aren't they closed?
Will you hold it a minute?
Okay.
Why aren't they closed?
We make the arrest. The court system lets them go. We do our job.
It's a bunch of BS. The only thing that this guy can do for me is to get a violin out now and accompany me with it. You understand?
I talked to Michael Dowd yesterday, and he began to cry because, really began to cry because he said he ruined his life and that of his family.
And all the other people around here whose lives he ruined. I don't feel sorry for him. He should rot in hell.
How many drug-dealing cops are out there? The head of New York Citizens Crime Commission says that in as many as 10 precincts in the poor neighborhoods, pockets of police are still mixed up in the drug business. Each pocket, like Dowd's group, involves about 15 officers. It's big money. And besides, to some white cops, ghetto residents are, quote, just animals anyway.
A guy who knows you told us Dowd is a Long Island cowboy, one of the white Long Island boys who police the black neighborhoods of New York City. They saw their precinct as a, quote, jungle, where the people are, quote, animals, not people.
Whoever said is a complete fool. I was shocked by the way the urban blacks lived. Yes, I'll admit that.
How do you mean, shocked?
There's no respect for themselves and no respect for anybody around them.
As we said, he was a Long Island boy. And finally, after 10 years in the force, Dowd was arrested, but not by the police in New York City. Instead, he was caught by officers in Suffolk County, Long Island, where Dowd lived, and sold some of the drugs.
But after you were arrested by Suffolk County, did the New York police get involved again and question you?
They never once came to me to question me.
Why?
They were embarrassed.
Dowd says New York City police officials still wanted to look the other way, still wanted to avoid a scandal. But now it was too late. Too late for the department, too late for Dowd.
I'm not a bum. I wasn't a bum before I became a police officer. But becoming a police officer led me in these directions. If your peers happen to be doing these things, then you do them too.
Michael Dowd is waiting now to hear his sentence. He could get 12 to 15 years.
We have to be able to communicate with our vehicles 24 hours a day. It's not just a telephone line. It is a critical network.
Communications is the driving force of their ambulance system.
1046 is in route code 3 at this time. Child has been born.
We had a call when some of the crew needed to talk to the dispatch center. They pushed that button. They did not get a hold of the dispatch center.
She was losing calls, and losing calls to her could possibly mean losing a life.
We needed to replace that system. If I could bring my monthly costs down, I could afford to budget state-of-the-art telephone system.
That's when MCI stepped in.
That's what MCI did.
Found out what her needs were.
Not just a telephone system. It's not just a radio system. It's not just a computer system. It's all three merged together.
I had a great sense of responsibility.
Without our MCIT1 service, you wouldn't be able to do that.
You try to do the good thing.
MCI backs the product.
You strive to do the right thing.
She sat there and really listened.
About 65 miles south of the nearest stoplight, and 2 miles up in the Rocky Mountain sky, you'll find skiers' heaven, also known as Telluride. The skiing's perfect and the views are even better. And whether you're going to extremes or just going for a lesson, don't go without your Visa card. Because at Telluride Ski Resort, they'll let you take the plunge, but they won't take American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
What TV can do to kids.
And Gentlewoman Schwarzkopf sends a new herd into the field.
Tomorrow on CBS This Morning with Harry Smith and Paula Zahn.
Is Herman incurably romantic or just incurably weird?
Women make your life a living hell. Then you die 6 to 8 years before they do.
Evening Shade. Then the family frog croaks.
Kelly, come on, you're a doctor.
I'm a plastic surgeon, Beth. You want me to do his eyes?
Dave's World after Evening Shade, Monday.
Can't you pump his little froggy arms?
Even though the United States hasn't built a nuclear weapon since 1989, next year the Energy Department will spend more than $12 billion on the nuclear weapons program. That's $4 billion more than they spent when the factories were running. And there are more people on the nuclear weapons payroll now than when we were actually making bombs. What they're supposed to be doing is cleaning up the environmental mess created during 40 years of churning out warheads. Who's running the cleanup? The same corporate giants who made the mess in the first place. The same people who ran the bomb factories. The bomb factories don't run anymore, but their byproducts, 40 years worth of radioactive garbage, are stored in old underground tanks. None of the waste has ever been disposed of.
We're driving past some tank farms now on the right-hand side. You see the elevated.
Steve Richardson of the Energy Department is the assistant manager here at the government Savannah River facility in South Carolina.
Behind this berm is a 1 million-gallon tank with high-level liquid waste in it.
When the Cold War ended in 1989 and the government stopped making nuclear weapons, the Energy Department got a new mission: clean up all the waste. At that time, Leo Duffy was the first assistant secretary in charge of the cleanup program.
You know, we started out with $1 billion in '89, and when I left, it was about $6.3 billion in the '94 budget.
Duffy says while he was there, on an average cleanup project, 35% of the money went right down a rat hole.
One specific example that I thought was really a perfect example was the Rocky Flats solar ponds.
At the Energy Department's Rocky Flats plant in Colorado, these ponds were used to capture the radioactive runoff from plutonium processing. The idea? Evaporate the water, mix the leftover radioactive sludge with concrete, and bury what they call pondcrete blocks 600 miles away in the Nevada desert. But it didn't work, according to Vic Resendez. Resendez is in charge of energy issues for the General Accounting Office, the investigative arm of Congress.
After the contract had completed 16,000 of these blocks, DOE found out that the mix of concrete and sludge had not been in the proper proportions, and over half started to crumble. What originally was expected to be a $27 million cleanup is now estimated to cost anywhere from $180 to $200 million.
$200 million to clean up the mess they made, trying to clean up the mess they made. Now the Energy Department is trying a far more complicated and far more costly solution for cleaning up the millions of gallons of nuclear waste in the underground tanks at Savannah River. It's built a massive new factory to melt the nuclear garbage into glass logs for storage. Each log will be a witch's brew of hazardous and toxic chemicals spiced with radioactive waste. Today, at least 5 years behind schedule and billions of dollars over budget, the project is still just in the testing phase. But the Energy Department must do something. Even though the General Accounting Office says the whole process, called vitrification, may never even work, the Department of Energy is still pouring money into the glass logs project. What was the initial estimate?
I believe the initial estimate of the facility was just less than $1 billion.
And so far, how much have you spent?
I'm not sure exactly of the today's date spending. I think we're forecasting it will come in about twice what our initial estimate was.
But the General Accounting Office says it will be double that.
We estimate that the cost to vitrify those waste down the Savannah River will run over $4 billion.
Even if they ever manage to make the glass logs out of radioactive waste, what do you do with the glass logs? No state has agreed to store them. No one wants a nuclear dump in his backyard. No matter, the Energy Department is building yet another glass log plant in Hanford, Washington, and the projected costs keep rising.
That project's been put on hold because of technical problems. But we've seen the cost escalate there from $4 billion originally to over $50 billion now.
$50 billion?
That's correct.
How much extra money, in your view, is being spent that we could be saving?
There's no way of knowing. DOE doesn't have the information systems to know whether, in fact, the contractor could have avoided some cost, and basically relies on the contractor for self-reporting.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
No.
Ever since the Manhattan Project of World War II, the U.S. government has paid industrial giants like DuPont and Westinghouse hundreds of billions of dollars to run the factories that made atomic bombs. At first, none of the companies wanted to do the dangerous work, and so the government was forced to agree to sweetheart deals. No matter how many cost overruns there were, and even if everything went wrong, the government was obliged to pay up anyway, and still is.
In essence, DOE pays the contractor for all costs incurred in managing the facilities.
Beyond the contract.
All costs incurred.
So they have a contract for X amount of money, but if they go over that, no matter for what reason, no matter for poor performance or frivolous reasons, the government just pays it anyway?
In essence, DOE is liable for paying all costs.
And he means all costs. Even $7,000 worth of golf balls and greens fees at employee golf tournaments. And $19,000 for umpires and scorekeepers at employee softball games. That's what the government paid at its Oak Ridge, Tennessee facility, where defense giant Martin Marietta has the contract. And that's chump change compared to the billions the Energy Department has spent at Savannah River, where two different contractors have tried and failed to make the glass log project work. When the contractors do change for whatever reason, does a whole new workforce come in to replace the previous workforce?
We haven't seen that. For example, at Savannah River, DuPont managed that facility for probably 30 or 40 years. When they left and Westinghouse took over, of the 15,000 people that worked at that facility, probably less than 100 management jobs actually changed hands.
So the DuPont workers became workers for the new contractor?
That's correct. In addition, we paid them severance pay of over $60 million.
Paid who severance pay?
The DuPont workers that are now Westinghouse workers.
Why?
It was part of the contract.
You're saying that even though those workers did not lose their job, the federal government still paid them severance.
That's correct.
And they're still working there, of $60 million.
That's correct.
We had a hard time finding out what all those thousands of people were doing down there. After all, the factories and reactors are shut down. The glass log plant is still in the testing phase. And so far, cleaning up the environment around the plant is just a demonstration project. But somehow there's still plenty of overtime. How much did you pay in overtime here last year?
I don't know that number. I believe Westinghouse was running to between 10 and 15% as a company in overtime, which is a relatively high number.
At its 35 sites last year, the Energy Department spent an estimated $200 million just on overtime. And remember, they weren't making anything at any of the facilities. At the Rocky Flats plant, the contractor, EG&G, is supposed to be reducing the workforce. But instead, it keeps adding more and more white-collar workers who spend their time writing work rules. Try this work rule. How many nuclear workers does it take to change a light bulb at Rocky Flats? This is the work package spelling out the rules for that job, changing a light bulb in a radiation area at the plant. It's 317 pages long. Now, you're going to think we're putting you on, but it took 43 people to change one light bulb. It actually took only 2 electricians less than an hour to do the work, but it took 41 people more than 1,000 hours to put this little plan together. We asked the Energy Department's Steve Richardson if he thinks the Savannah River facility is keeping 22,000 people fully employed.
No.
Well, that's what you have.
Well, I understand that, and we're continually looking for people that are not fully employed. Obviously, not every single individual is, and both Westinghouse and DOE are trying to find those examples and root them out.
That may be, but as we said, there are more people working in the U.S. nuclear weapons program today than there were in 1989 when we were still actually producing warheads. The contractors employ 140,000 workers, and they're supervised by 5,000 federal employees. What on earth are all those people at DOE doing?
They're supposed to be managing the contractors.
They're supposed to be managing the contractors, but they're not.
They're not doing a very good job.
Instead of reining in the contractors, they reward them with bonuses. Consider the case of the contractor at Savannah River. How would you rate Westinghouse's performance overall?
They're probably average to above average.
It kind of makes you wonder what constitutes below average performance. The glass log plant still isn't finished 5 years after it was scheduled to be running. And now Westinghouse is working on a new facility to recycle tritium from aging nuclear warheads. And as usual, they're behind schedule and way over budget. Was Westinghouse ever penalized in any way for messing up on this?
They were hit very heavily for cost and financial management problems at a number of key facilities, and the replacement tritium facility was one of the biggest ones.
Were they denied their bonus?
Their bonus was substantially reduced as a result of that. Clearly, we dinged them there, but there's a lot of other things going on the site that are doing better.
You say you dinged them there, and I have in my hand the report that you put out publicly on the bonus that they got for this last 6 months. And you say in here that they did nothing but make mistakes, and you gave them a bonus of $7.4 million.
There's some things they have done well that we gave them credit for going on this.
Yeah, but why give them a bonus at all? If they mess up, why do they get anything? And $7 million is a hefty bonus in anybody's book.
$7 million in terms of bonus is not a lot of money when you're talking about a $2 billion a year operation.
By our calculation, since Westinghouse came here in '89, they've gotten bonuses that amount to more than $50 million. And only once in that whole period did they ever have an assessment, a performance assessment, that said they were anything better than good. Is this award bonus system working in the incentive way it's intended to?
I think it is.
By the way, do you get a bonus?
I am in the senior executive service, and all of us are up and eligible for a bonus every year as part of that system. But it's...
Did you get one last year?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I don't know.
Because maybe the way Westinghouse was running this place.
I don't know.
Even with a lackluster performance record, Westinghouse has survived 7 secretaries of energy. Former Assistant Secretary Leo Duffy calls them the Weebies.
Yeah.
Who are the Weebies?
Well, the Weebies are, we be here after you. You know, we be here before you, and we be here after you. Those are the people that say, well, he's going to be gone, you know, and as soon as he goes, we'll go back to business as usual.
One postscript to business as usual at Savannah River. The Energy Department's Inspector General recently reviewed 29 months' worth of expenses charged to the government. And it turns out the top executives of Westinghouse awarded themselves yet another $4.7 million in bonuses without government approval. Well, what about the Energy Department's officials who are supposed to keep track of such things? It took them more than 2 years to even notice that the unauthorized bonuses had been paid.
Most of the Earth's surface is covered by water, which means most of the Earth is covered by Princess. No cruise line sails more ships to more ports of call worldwide than Princess, because it's more than a cruise. It's the love boat.
No one can wait for the creamy smooth cheddar sauce or the tender broccoli. And the delicately seasoned taste of Lipton rice and sauce is just too hard to resist. Funny that when it's Lipton rice and sauce, people just have to eat it first. After all, when something tastes this good, everyone wants a turn. Lipton rice and sauce, the taste that turns dinner around.
For every week, there is a weekend. For every mortgage payment, there is a house you call home. For every diaper you change, there's a baby's smile. And for every trip to the dry cleaners, the in-laws, or the pediatrician, there is now the 850 sports wagon from Volvo. Suddenly, being an adult might not be so bad after all.
60 Minutes, a CBS News weekly magazine, will continue.
They ain't pretty, they ain't polite, and now they're all so mad. The Renegade Phillies try to even the score against the reigning Blue Jays tonight on CBS.
In Bosnia, CBS reported on a family separated by war, their home destroyed.
This is just one image that stuck with me. I just knew that I had to do something.
Touched by our story, David Sager arranged to bring the reunited family to a safe new home in America. The CBS Evening News with Dan Rather and Connie Chung, teamed to cover your world.
This is CBS.
In Oregon, you don't have to be somebody or know somebody to get into the art, movie, music, and dining scene. You just need the Oregonian to tell you where it's happening. Or in some cases, where it's not.
Does it seem like everybody knows more about investing than you do?
Excuse me, but you're not doing a straddle on T-bills, are you?
No, I'm just here to ask about the mutual funds.
Hey, Lorraine, I heard you went long right before the sell-off.
Yeah, I got hammered.
Oh, Lorraine. Did you have a question?
No, I think you already answered it.
For advice you can understand, visit any U.S. Bank branch and see an investment specialist from U.S. Bank Core Securities.
Get your weekend sports from Steve Davis tonight on Newsroom 6.
Rolando Cruz is on death row, convicted in the 1983 rape and murder of 10-year-old Janine Nicarico. Like almost everyone else on death row, he says the police got the wrong man. That's not surprising. What is surprising, however, is that throughout the 10-year history of his case, some of the people you would think would most want to keep him on death row, detectives, a police chief, and even one of the prosecutors, also think they got the wrong man. Next week, the Illinois State Supreme Court could say who's right. In the state of Illinois, they called death row the condemned unit. But after nearly 7 years, Rolando Cruz refuses to see himself as one of the condemned.
It's not easy to constantly be positive, constantly have faith. It's hard, but you have to.
On February 25th, 1983, Janine Nicarico was home from school with a sore throat. At noon, her mother came from the office to make her lunch.
Then about 3 or 3:15, got the call from a neighbor that my other daughter had come home and found the door had been broken into, the house had been broken into, and Janine was gone.
Police found nothing missing from the house except Janine and a blanket. Tom Knight was the first prosecutor in the case and oversaw the police investigation. So you think it was a burglary that went bad, spiraled downhill?
Correct. It's burglary with it, that they found the girl and just took her instead, and it was more like probably like a pack of dogs.
Janine's body was found 2 days later in the overgrown brush beside a hiking trail. The police investigated for more than a year before making arrests. Despite 3 eyewitnesses seeing a lone white male, 2 Hispanics are now in prison for the crime, Rolando Cruz and Alex Hernandez. How did Cruz and Hernandez become key suspects even though no physical evidence linked them to the murder and neither had a record of violent crime? Well, Hernandez went to the police with a story he says he made up, hoping to get a piece of the $10,000 reward. In one of the stories, he mentioned Cruz, and the police started to question both of them. The police decided Cruz and Hernandez knew too much about the details not to have been involved. Starting out as would-be informants in the investigation, they ended up being tried and convicted for the rape and murder of Janine Nicarico.
I did not participate in the break-in, the kidnapping, rape, any of it, murder, none of it. None of it all.
Did you see any of it?
No.
Did you know anything about it?
Nope. Not until the police came and talked to me about it. I didn't know nothing at all about it.
You made some pretty incriminating statements during the police investigation. Why did you say those things at that time?
Nobody took the investigation serious. Because we're all just a bunch of young, smart-ass street punks. And there wasn't nothing where, okay, this is real serious. We have to be serious about it. Better not lie about it. Nobody paid attention to that, you know? I mean, nobody thought about it that way.
If Rolando Cruz is executed, you're convinced that the state would be executing the man who raped and murdered Janine Nicarico?
One of them.
No doubts whatsoever?
No doubts.
3 months after the trial that convicted Cruz and Hernandez, another little girl in a neighboring town was also found raped and murdered. This man, Brian Dugan, confessed. This woman saw a connection between Dugan and the Nicarico murder.
I began to realize that the things that happened were so similar.
Eloise Sook, a secretary in the church just up the road from the Nicarico house, contacted the police to tell them she had talked to Brian Dugan the day Janine Nicarico disappeared.
I really felt that someone should be aware of the fact that he was in that neighborhood that day.
It had been years since you had seen him. How could you remember his face so well?
I noticed that one eye was smaller than the other, his left eye. And it stood out in my mind because I remember that I have a daughter that has an eye like that.
How significant is it that she talked to Dugan on that day?
I believe it's very significant. Eloise Sook puts Brian Dugan about 7/10 of a mile from the Nicarico home during the time Janine was abducted.
Major Ed Sosowski, a former area commander for the Illinois State Police, says he was told by Brian Dugan that he and he alone kidnapped, raped, and killed Janine Nicarico.
I was skeptical at first.
In all, Dugan was willing to confess to 6 rapes and 3 murders on the condition that he be given immunity from the death sentence. In 5 cases, the authorities agreed, but the prosecutors in the Nicarico case said no. So Sosowski and the state police decided to conduct their own investigation, which included 4 interviews, a polygraph, and this videotaped confession when Dugan was under hypnosis.
You're going to find yourself more and more deeply relaxed.
Dugan's confession contained over 50 details that matched the Nicarico kidnapping and assault. He described the inside of the house, accurately remembering the layout and color of several rooms. Although he was wrong on some facts that the prosecution sees as key, Captain Sosowski found his confession remarkably accurate. Grade Brian Dugan's confession on a scale of 1 to 10.
The confession? It's a 10.
What most impressed Sosowski were facts that Dugan couldn't have made up or changed, like his car. It matched the one seen near the hiking trail down to the missing hubcap. And his work record showed that he had missed work on the very day Janine Nicarico disappeared. He says to you that he didn't show up to work on February 25th, 1983, the day of the murder.
That's right.
And that is true.
That was corroborated by time clock records.
He claimed that he kicked the front door in twice?
That was corroborated by FBI lab.
He gave a fairly accurate, detailed description of the house?
He gave a very accurate description of the interior house.
Some people might say there are a lot of coincidences there.
I don't believe in coincidences, then.
What would you say?
I'd say those are facts that can't be disputed.
If Brian Dugan had confessed to this crime before Cruz and Hernandez had been convicted, this case would have been one of the easiest murder investigations in DuPage County history.
Larry Marshall is Rolando Cruz's lawyer. He says Dugan's confession should have been enough to prove Cruz's innocence.
They had everything. They had confessions by Dugan, and what they had, moreover, was Dugan knowing scores and scores of facts that no one could have known about the crime.
All of this came forward after a much...
Have a car that matches in make, model, color. He matches the physical description of the individual seen on the prairie path. His DNA matches. His shoe size matches the footprint on the door, and he's seen in the neighborhood during the time of the abduction. Those are facts that you can't dispute.
Tom Knight says that even if Dugan did do it, he thinks Cruz and Hernandez were involved in the murder.
What stands out is the fact that they made numerous statements which contained details that only should have been known to those people who were involved.
I told them different things. Everything checked out proved out to be a lie. Everything they checked that I told them proved to be a lie. And they knew it.
Records of the case show that for much of the investigation, there were 5 statements taken from Rolando Cruz, all of them recorded. And in each of these statements, his description of the murder conflicted with the known facts of the case. Then, just 4 days before trial, the prosecution announced that the police had just remembered a 6th statement by Cruz. They said it had been taken 18 months earlier when he was very emotional and crying as he told them about a dream or a vision of the murder. This time, some of the facts did match the murder, but unlike the earlier statements by Cruz, this one was not recorded or even written down. His attorney told me he finds the detective's story hard to believe.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that Rolando Cruz, in the biggest case in DuPage County history, finally came into your office, and you're telling me he was emotional, and he was crying, and he was doing what you claim is tantamount to a confession in terms of his guilty knowledge, and you decided not to make notes, and you decided not to tape it? Ed, that's like my telling you that on the way over to this interview, I walked past $1 million in a briefcase, and I decided I'd get it on my way back home.
Did you ever tell the DuPage County detectives about a vision or a dream you had of the murder?
I never told them anything like that.
You never told them that?
Nope.
There are 2 detectives who sworn under oath that you did tell them that.
Right. But I never told them that.
Why would 2 seasoned police officers lie?
I think that the best I can say is that a lot of this investigation and a lot of the misconduct surrounding this investigation was done at a time when they thought they were framing the guilty person.
John Sam thinks that's probably true. He was a police detective who worked on the original investigation.
We searched and searched through here days and days looking for some type of murder weapon, which we never found.
Sam quit the force shortly before Cruz went to trial. He says his partners, who said they took the vision statement, never told him anything about it.
You're going to come back and not tell your fellow workers that this happened?
And you were working closely with these guys?
Every day, every day.
I mean, this vision statement would seem to me, if I'm an investigator, as a, I got you.
Oh, yeah, I sure would too. Anything that you would hear about this case would be very important, especially if one of your suspects is making a vision statement. I can't believe for the life of me that that's not important.
The fact is that all the circumstances were brought to the attention of the jury when I had the case, only the jury also had the benefit of hearing the witnesses themselves. I mean, I've tried cases for many, many years, and the one thing it's taught me is the humility to realize that jurors basically decide cases on facts.
In 1988, Rolando Cruz was given a second trial. In his defense, his lawyers wanted Brian Dugan to testify, but Dugan demanded immunity. The judge and the prosecution refused. The judge also ruled the jury could not hear any description of Dugan's 5 previous sex offenses. Larry Marshall says that information was crucial to prove that Dugan acted alone.
This wasn't the case of a burglar. Dugan always acted alone because sex criminals act alone. Dugan was a pedophile who in the past had engaged in this very same kind of crime, including the rape, kidnapping, and murder of an 8-year-old girl. The jury never heard any of that. The jury was never told that Brian Dugan's history was that of a sex offender.
There are all types of circumstances when evidence is not allowed to be heard in cases.
When Cruz appealed to the state Supreme Court, Roland Burris, the Attorney General of Illinois, oversaw the prosecution. The first prosecutor he assigned, Mary Kinney, resigned after conducting an investigation. She said in her resignation letter, she could not sit idly as this office continues to pursue the unjust prosecution and execution of Rolando Cruz. Burris says it's not her job to decide Cruz's innocence. It's the jury's, and the jury has spoken.
They believed, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Rolando Cruz committed this. That is our system, beyond a reasonable doubt.
Do whatever you can do before you kill me for something I did not do. Shouldn't you put him on the stand? I mean, if you're going to say Brian Dugan's a liar, put him on the stand and prove he's a liar.
The truth has got to surface, and the truth is that Brian Dugan is the sole perpetrator of the abduction, rape, and murder of Janina Carrico.
We're using high-resolution robotic cameras in order to give you a closer look at the fit and finish of our Lincoln cars. To achieve this kind of quality, we not only employ technologically advanced machines, we also employ dedicated people who bring to Lincoln a craftsmanship that can't be duplicated by a mere machine. Sorry, fellas. Lincoln, what a luxury car should be.
Morgan, that package you sent to Denver, it never got there.
Introducing tracking software from Federal Express.
Well, it was picked up at 5:20 last night, and it was delivered at 9:42 a.m. and signed for by Kate Donovan. Shall I call her for you, sir?
Never mind. Now you can track packages right from your computer on your desk.
If screaming down the north face is where you're at, and steaming up the hot tub is where you're at, then the place you stay should be the place you're at. Radisson. This must be the place.
Need new glasses? Let LensCrafters pay for your eye exam. Just bring us your prescription and exam receipt from the doctors next to LensCrafters or any eye doctor, and we'll deduct up to $45 from your new LensCrafters glasses. Let LensCrafters pay for your eye exam. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Klaus, I hear we're finally getting the Belgian plant online.
Yes, we've met international regulations, national regulations. Don't worry, everything is fine.
Excellent. What about provincial regulations?
Provincial regulations? What provincial regulations?
No one offers you more international business expertise than KPMG Pete Marwick, the global leader.
Tonight, Andy Rooney is a paper tiger.
There are certain subjects you don't talk about in polite society, and tonight I'd like to talk about one of those. One of the great games played in every household in America is trying to be the one who doesn't have to put a new roll of toilet paper on the roller. The trick, of course, is to leave just a little so the next person will have to do it. If it seems to you that rolls of paper of every kind aren't lasting as long as they used to, it isn't your imagination. Last year, in a report I did on how much of their product manufacturers put into a box, a can, a bag, or a roll, I expressed a wish. I wish I had a box of Kleenex from 20 years ago, or any box of paper tissues, or some rolls of towels. I'd like to see how much smaller they've gotten. Well, I didn't get any old boxes of Kleenex, lucky for Kleenex, but people did send me a lot of rolls of paper that they bought 10 or 20 years ago. Here's a roll of paper towel, Bounty. This is the old one. It says new, but that was in 1976. 85 square feet, 100 sheets, 50 cents. Here's the new one, 60 square feet, 72 sheets,
on sale for 99 cents. Charmin has been very busy redesigning its package over the years. Kid looks the same age as he used to, but there's a lot less paper in the package. The first one we have had 365 square feet, 650 sheets. A few years later, 281 square feet, 500 sheets, 76 cents. Next, 275 square feet, $1.19. 154 square feet, $1.59. The last one we have, Charmin Ultra, is 93.5 square feet. White Cloud. First one we have had 210 square feet, then 165, then 137 square feet, and the last one we have is 126 square feet. I'm sure there'll be a new and improved version out very shortly with 97 square feet. One of the things about life we've all learned to depend on is this. Whatever you buy, you can be sure it'll be smaller, more expensive, and probably not as good as the last time you bought it.
Far and away, most of what we heard about our story on AIDS in Cuba was more or less what this viewer wrote. The contention that political pressures are not calling the shots and how the United States deals with the AIDS epidemic is pure bunk. What other carriers of a contagious, fatal disease have been allowed to go so widely unchecked ever? And if it had started in a drug-abusing community rather than in the well-organized gay community, it would have been handled like all other diseases. Let's not forget the civil rights of those not yet infected. And finally, about our story on the London musical financed by bird droppings from the island of Nauru, a viewer wrote, maybe next time they should try Bye Bye Birdie. I'm Morley Safer. We'll be back next week with another edition of 60 Minutes.